Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 6 NFL waiver wire pickups. We have a few guys here for this one, so let's just jump into this thing, start this thing going. Number one is easy. This is just easy. It's Chase Claypool. Massive game, last week against the Eagles. He looked the part. He looked like the real deal. It didn't feel fluky. It felt like just a guy who was just that good of a receiver, right? It just felt like he can do this. I want to see some more before I'm 100% just sold on it, but this was ridiculously good from Chase Claypool. He has to be the number one pickup, and there's nobody close. It's just him.
Yeah, 100% agree. We already knew that he had big playability, and in week 2 he went for that big one. He ended up with 88 yards and a touchdown. He's got to skyrocket to the number 2 wide receiving option on that team behind Juju. And who knows, maybe with his physical makeup, he is a very tall and fast and just overall strong wide receiver.
Yep. They
can use him in different ways than other guys. So I absolutely love this guy. It's cool to see him put it together so quickly. We'll find out if he's going to be up and down, but he's definitely a top ad because his ceiling is so high.
Yep. And, also let's say on our list, we like to keep it at 40% and under owned. So the only players we're having are owned in 40% of leagues or under. So Claypool is going to be the top for that. So after that, Jeff, I don't feel like this is a great week for a lot of positions. Wide receiver wise, though, I feel like we still have players here. We've been talking about some of these guys every week, and I still think they need to be owned. So one of them, I'll start off with Laviska Shenault, who continues to be involved in Jacksonville. And now it's come to the point where before it was 3 catches, 5 catches, 5 catches. The targets were 4, 6. He's been just like perfectly in line with that, right? With a couple carries. And now he jumped it up to 7 catches this week with 8 targets. It's been a gradual increase every single week. And it feels like a real thing to me. And he needs to be owned at this point because he's actually becoming he's becoming where he could be a fantasy option at some point here, right? The touchdowns aren't there yet. He had 1 in week 1, that's it. But he's involved in this offense. He needs to be picked up. He's only owned in like 31.1% of leagues right now in ESPN. So I think you got to go pick up Laviska Shenault.
Yeah, 100% agree. Obviously, we've been touting him. Well, hopefully he'll continue to get better. But yeah, he's just an all-around dynamic player. He's great. Another one, and he might not necessarily go number 3 for you, but I think a very interesting guy. He had a big game for the Eagles. Travis Fulgum.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know what he is, but the last 2 games he scored a touchdown against San Fran a week ago, or week 4. 2 catches for 57 yards against Pittsburgh. 10 for 152 and a touchdown. And we've, talked about in the past, the Eagles need help desperately at the wide receiving position. And even more so because he kind of has an inside track of proving himself if he continues to play well. Next week is a terrible matchup, right? You're going against Baltimore. That's not going to be great, but if he does anything, if he has a couple catches, if the other guys do not get healthy, after that, he goes to the New York Giants and then Dallas before they hit a bye. So you'll have 2 games where this guy could be very productive if he's the real deal. As a very long shot, I'm not sure if he is. He's only owned in like 0.2% of the leagues. But, he put up a big game. I would be willing to throw him on my bench if I have a spot to find out if this guy is for real or not, because there is a lot of targets just in the balance. He could easily soak up a bunch of them.
So he would have still came out at 4 on my list. My number 3 was going to be Brandon Ayuk, just because I like the talent there, and I think he's involved in San Francisco's offense. It was only 3 for 44 this past game, but 6 targets. I think he has the talent though to become up there. So it's these young receivers, right? That's what the players are. That's who's on the wire right now for you to pick up. It's young receivers. So it wasn't the biggest game for Brandon Ayuk this past week, but he should be owned on your team. The quarterback situation worries me there. I don't know what's going on. And is it going to be CJ Beathard next week? Is Garoppolo going to be healthy enough to play? That's what's screwing up this team right now, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So,
I was going to say there's two others that I think you should target. One being Tim Patrick. Hey,
he's still there.
Yep. What was going on? He did just come off of having a good game. I think he's an intriguing guy. And then also, I'm not completely off of the idea of MVS, right? Lazard is still on the IR. He's hurt. They've been red hot. He's going to be the number 2, however that shakes out. But I think he's worth taking a risk on for like one last ditch effort. Well,
and I'm not done with McCole Hardman. I'm still not. I'm still holding out hope that something could be there. I
had to play him. Like he is one catch away from having a big game. He had 50 yards, and they didn't really have a great offensive output this week. So I agree with you. I like the upside of Hardman.
Yep. And there's a guy who's going to be forgotten for a bit here. So maybe if you have a spot on your bench, I'm not sure how great he's going to be again, but it's Corey Davis, only because he started the year pretty decent. They had the unexpected bye in week 4. They are playing this week, but Corey Davis is on that COVID list. He's one of the players, so he's not going to be playing against Buffalo. So because of that, he's going to be completely forgotten about. So just he's just a name to just remember in those deep leagues. So I'm going to move over to running back in a second, but before we do that, I just wanted to say some of the guys who are above 40%, but they're still under 50% owned, because there are some good players right here. So we're going to break our list for a little bit. But the guys there, you got Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs, he only had 2 catches, but it was an impressive 2 catches. I'll say that. And he's owned in 48.4% of leagues. So Henry Ruggs, he's definitely worth an ad, I would say. T. Higgins is just above that mark as well at 40.5%. So T. Higgins, Henry Ruggs, I think you have to go definitely pick those guys up if they're still out there, which they're good. I mean, if there's 40% of leagues, they're out there and quite a bit yet. So Ruggs and Higgins. So there's just a lot of good young receivers out there, and keep doing that. Running back wise, I don't have much for you. I just don't. I don't have a lot here. I'm going to break that rule again. I'm going to go between 40 and 50%. Between 40 and 50%, you got Chase Edmunds and you got Damian Harris. And,
yes.
Right? Those are the options, because under our normal 40% mark, there just isn't players, Jeff. There's nobody there.
No, there isn't right now. It's just not that week for you. But the 2 that you mentioned that are a little bit higher, and not only are they waiver ads, I think that they're very top end. If for whatever reason they're not on anyone's bench, I very much think that those guys could be very dangerous moving forward. We talked about Chase Edmunds and how Drake hasn't, he's very in a risky situation of losing a lot more share to Edmunds, as Edmunds is really establishing himself more in the pass catching area. So I really like that pick, especially in Damian Harris. We were talking about him a couple of weeks ago of like, hey, grab him now so you don't have to be in this bidding war. Mm-hmm. You have to be in a bidding war now, on waivers, or use your number 1 waiver pickup to get him. But he was very impressive, in what he was able to accomplish in his first game back. It's the Patriots, so it's still a dangerous situation at all times. But, hey, he looked like he had talent. And with what they got going on with Cam and, just the way they play, he will be a good player to have on your team, even though he might not be a weekly starter at this point.
Yep. Yeah, I think Damian Harris, he showed enough. He showed that at this point he might be better than Sony Michel, then Sony Michel's now in IR. So I think that could definitely be a pickup there for you. I'll go tight end here quick. Tight end wise, there's really, again, not many options. I'm going to go to the 40 to 50% mark. I'm going to go in that range and go Robert Tanyan. And he's owned in, let's see here, it's under 50%. He's owned at 48.2% of leagues. And he was on bye this past week. So, again, when that happens, players get forgotten about. They get forgotten, and you can go pick them up yet. I would go get Robert Tanyan. After that, I don't really have an option for you. It's a relatively – this could be the quickest episode we've ever done on waivers because it's not a great week.
Yeah, the only one, if you are absolutely desperate, which tight end usually you don't, because not a lot of people have multiple tight ends on their team if you're in a standard type of league. But if you're really in the, you can't get Tanyan, I think that there are really there's only one guy that I'd be looking at down here, but that would be Gerald Everett. I think he does have some sort of value. He's been doing better and better. Hasn't caught a touchdown yet, but he just 4 for 90 against Washington. Washington is bad, but hey, at least you can get a little something out of him. And once again, this is like if there's nothing left, if it's bare bones, I think that he might be someone that you can grab, only because we didn't name anyone else that was easily available.
Yep. All right, quarterbacks here. So we got some.
I was about to say, I was like, oh my gosh, we're done.
We're almost there. I do have a couple.
Waivers are quick.
It's not a great week. I mean, Chase Claypool is an awesome pickup, but after that, it's just everything else is a speculation.
Before we get to QB, I do if obviously number one waiver pick, absolutely. But if you're in an auction waiver type style, like you have a $100, $200 budget, what percentage of that are you using to get Chase Claypool? What do you think is appropriate?
Man, I guess everyone's roster is different, but if you need that wide receiver, and at this point of the year, there's not been a lot. I mean, you go 50% at least, right?
I agree. I think you can go really big on this guy, and
go bigger than that. Maybe
you're wrong, right? But I don't see another guy popping up out of nowhere.
No, this is the kind of guy you do that for. You try to get. So yeah. All right, quarterback wise, I got two streaming options for you this week. I got Ryan Fitzpatrick playing against the Jets, and then I got Kirk Cousins playing against the Falcons. I think both of those are pretty solid streaming options. Those are the two I'd go with. I don't really have any others because, Tannehill against the Texans, maybe. But I think Fitzpatrick and Cousins are the best options there for you this week, I would say, by far. There isn't really a lot of other great ones. And I have not at all looked at defenses yet. So this is going to be on the spot here. I'm going to throw up some defenses. I'm going to see what we got here. What do we have? So let's see if I can find some just out of nowhere. Not really. No. Yeah. Would you trust playing the Washington football team against the Giants?
I hate to say this, but not really.
Okay, so here
I get it in a pinch. I don't think they'll be bad. I don't think there's an upside with it. But I mean, in the last 4 games it was 1, -2, 1, -1.
Yeah. Well, so
if you're playing the Giants, that's pretty rough, especially when they just hung 34.
Yeah. Well, here's the options. Okay, here are the options in around 50% and under. Cardinals against the Cowboys. Even with Dak's injury, you're not doing that. The Chiefs against Buffalo. How can you do that right now with the way Josh Allen's played?
Yeah, they were actually doing well before this past game against Las Vegas.
Cowboys, can you ever play the Cowboys defense? They're playing against the Cardinals, so you can't do that.
Definitely not.
Vikings playing against the Falcons. Falcons have not been great, but they can go off on you. There's a chance that could happen, especially with a healthy Julio. Eagles playing against the Ravens. Browns playing against the Steelers. Titans against Texans.
That one's kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't like to see the Texans go off this week, but
so I'm naming all these and there's just nothing there, right? So you might have to go with the Texans against Houston if you're looking for a streaming option, because then there's Jets at Miami. I'm not playing the Jets. Packers at the Buccaneers. No. Then Washington at the Giants. Texans at Tennessee. Bengals. No, not doing that. Jacksonville against Detroit. Detroit against Jacksonville. Maybe. Yeah. Panthers against the Bears. So there's nothing Panthers, great. That's not terrible though.
No, Panthers versus Bears would be. I would consider that one.
Oh, how about Dolphins against the Jets?
Actually, I like that one a lot.
That's where you go.
I really, sadly enough, I do. I know they're very up and down too, but I think that one is a good situation. And I mean, how many people own? 1.2% of people roster this defense right now, so you can absolutely get them. I like that one a lot, actually. I'd probably take that over a lot of the other ones.
All right. Okay. That's about it. That's all I got for you today for waiver wire. Not the greatest week, but there's a really good number one. I'll say that, right? Yeah. The number one is awesome. So you go do what you got to do, I guess, to pick up Chase Claypool if you want him on your team. He's going to be a really, really good option. So, but all right, that'll do it. We'll be back with some rankings and mailbag shows later this week. Talk to you guys then.